Okay, welcome back to FTL, Playthrough Easy Mode. Here we are about to start the final boss fight of the game, and this is probably the one spot that has ended more people's playthroughs, even on Easy Mode, than anywhere else. The final boss is a huge jump in difficulty from the rest of the game, and it will really put all of your skills to the test. We are fairly well equipped for it. I have a really good weapon loadout. I've got a defense drone too. I've got cloaking. The only thing I'm concerned about is that I've only got 3 levels of shield, and I really like to have 4 for this. But let's give it a shot and see how it goes. Alright, here we have the enemy flagship. As we can see, it has a shit ton of health and full shields and a bunch of different weapons. It's currently got cloaking, which it is immediately going to take advantage of. And we are in for a fight, so let's go. First thing we do is, you'll notice, they cloak immediately, which means we can't fire on it yet. If we didn't have the weapon pre-igniter equipped, this also means that our weapons wouldn't be charging the entire time it was cloaked too, so that's a huge problem. While I've got it paused, I am going to power off my medbay, since I don't need it, and use those 4 units of power to turn on my defense drone. The reason it's important to have a defense drone for this fight, and ideally you would have 2, but 1 is better than none, is that it has a missile launcher over here that will fire 3 missiles at once, which is a huge pain in the ass, as you might expect. Aside from that, it's the standard attack pattern that I've been using with this weapon layout throughout the playthrough. The only difference here is that instead of targeting as many rooms as I can with the halberd beam, I'm actually just going to target the shields and the missile launcher, because the missile launcher is the biggest threat the flagship has right now. So I want to take that out as quickly as I can. And as you can see, even 2 damage wasn't enough to completely disable it. So it's going to take a couple hits to take that out. Thankfully, it's completely sealed off from the rest of the ship, so they can't actually fix it once it's been taken out. You can see it's firing 3 missiles there, so I'm going to pause and cloak while my weapons charge up. And once they are fully charged, I'm just going to keep repeating that until either I win or he destroys me. There, now I've got the missile launcher taken out, which means that I can focus on just doing as much damage as possible to the ship as quickly as I can. So now I'm going to switch from targeting that missile launcher room to just hitting as many rooms as I can. I'm still going to time out my volleys, because I really want to be as efficient as possible with the damage that I'm putting out. But this first stage of the fight is now much, much easier. You can see it's already lost about 3/4 of its health. So target my lasers, and then I can hit 4 rooms if I aim the beam like this, so I might as well just do that. And there we go, blew it up. I win the game, woo! Oh, nope. If you've not gotten this far before, it's one of those boss fights where there are multiple forms. That is just the first and easiest of 3 total forms that this boss has. It jumps away, which gives us time to fix up our ship. And I'm going to make sure all of my dudes are fully healed up. Send him back to the cockpit. Get everything set. I've got 39 scrap now, so I'm going to spend 1 more point on a reactor upgrade. That way I can power all of my systems and a defense drone at the same time, which is nice. And now we're just going to chase the rebel ship. Okay, the second form of this is, in my opinion, the hardest by far of the 3 forms that the final boss comes in. You chase down the flagship and discover it is heavily damaged from the previous fight. Scans indicate that it has redirected considerable power to its drones. Get ready for a fight. Yeah, this form of the boss is heavily focused on drone combat. It will launch a defense drone of its own to shoot down incoming enemy missiles, so if you're focusing on missile weapons, this part of the fight is extremely difficult. I'm only using energy weapons, so that won't be a factor, but it's got a couple surprises up its sleeve that you'll see that still make this very dangerous. First thing I'm going to do, as always, is pause, turn on my defense drone, and since it doesn't have the cloaking ability anymore, I'm just going to immediately open up on it with my weapons. Again, since it repaired that missile launcher, and since I want to save my cloak for the little sucker punch this guy has up its sleeve, I'm going to target that missile launcher again, and try to do as much damage to it as I can as quickly as possible. You can see it's got 2 drones attacking me, and it's also sending in boarding drones, one of which made it in there. Boarding drones are a huge pain in the ass because they punch a hole in your ship, and then they will attack any systems or crew members in the room in which they land. They don't do a ton of damage, but they have a lot of health, so they take a long time to take out, and the whole time there's air rushing out of that room, so if you lose track of it, you can end up losing crew members to them very quickly. I have all of my weapons charged up again, so let's just repeat that attack. Alright, there we go. We've got the missile launcher taken out, which is very good, because you'll see up here, there's a warning that says power surge detected. This is an indication that the boss is about to use its super attack. In the case of this form of the boss, it is a massive swarm of drones that will fly at your ship and start shooting all sorts of stuff at it. The only real defense for this is to try and cloak and avoid it, which, as you'll see, basically neuters this attack. But if you don't have cloaking, these guys can cut through your shields and do all kinds of damage before you have any way of answering for it. So you can see there, we've almost got that drone taken out, but my guys are getting really low on health, so I'm going to send them up to heal. And while they're doing that, I'll wait for my weapons to charge. You can see how much I have to multitask in this fight. I'm watching what the enemy flagship is doing, I'm watching what this drone is doing, I'm watching the health of my crew members, and I'm watching my weapons, and then whenever they're ready, I'm targeting them. This is why this fight is a challenge. But there we have it. I did so much damage that I really took it out before it could do too much. This is why, like I've said multiple times, I love this weapon loadout. It does a lot of damage very reliably, very quickly. And you can see that with the enemy flagship jumped away, the drone has effectively lost power and is just sitting there. The bad news is you still have to destroy it before you can repair that room, but it's so low on health that I'm not worried about it. There, that's taken care of. And with that taken care of, I am actually going to send in an Engi to do the repairs, because they do it very quickly. That's fixed, so I'm going to heal him up. We got a little bit more scrap. Not enough to upgrade our power anymore, but I'm going to go ahead and upgrade my sensors, just because. No reason not to spend all of your scrap at this point in the game, since we're right at the end. And with that, I think we are ready to go on to the third and final form of the boss. Now this final form, you can see, has a giant version of the Zoltan energy shield on top of its regular shields, so we'll have to break through that before we can actually start doing damage. Fortunately, it's lost all of its drones, and it's lost its cloaking, so it can't do any of that really annoying cloaking or, drone swarm stuff. It has one more super attack up its sleeve, and they will probably send a few boarding parties over as well, but we are extremely well equipped to deal with boarding parties, so I'm not worried about that. All in all, I think this last stage is much less threatening than the second one, and you'll see why. First thing we do is just fire everything to try and get through as much of that energy shield as I can. You can see that's going to take a few volleys. Gotta remember to turn on my defense drone. Because, yeah, until we cut through these shields, that missile launcher is free to fire at us. And it's got one more super attack, so I don't want to use my cloaking just to dodge those missiles. Now I've cut through the shield, so I'm going to turn off all of my auto-fire until everything's ready to fire at once. And there, that is the enemy ship's super attack. It sends out like 9 heavy laser blasts at once. And once again, if you don't have cloaking, this can completely wreck your ship in an instant. Thankfully, with cloaking and a high evasion, they can't hit, and the attack is not really much of a threat. The problem is that the super attack has a shorter cooldown than your cloaking equipment, so if you don't take out the enemy ship quickly, you may just be forced to rely on your shields and your evasion to tank some of that damage. But with all of our weapons queued up, once again, it's time to focus on their shields and missile launcher. We've got a fire in our oxygen system, so I'm going to send the 2 rock crew members over to deal with that. The shields are low enough now on the flagship that I'm just going to leave auto-fire on and let that handle it. I won't be doing as efficient damage with the halberd beam as I could be, but I'm going to win this damage race. You can see it just fired another burst of lasers, and my cloaking device is not recharged yet, so hopefully I'm just going to have to dodge this. And we got very lucky there. Thanks to the high shield rating and high evasion rating, we were able to avoid all of those. You can see it sent a boarding party over, but the fight is won at this point. He's got no shields. His missile launcher is damaged but not destroyed. My next volley is going to win this fight. So, good news for me. And there we go. Enemy flagship destroyed. Congratulations. Thanks to the valiant effort of the Butts Lal and her successful crew, the Rebels' flagship was destroyed, throwing their fleet into chaos and ensuring a Federation victory. And that right there is how I play FTL on easy mode. I may have made that final boss look a little bit easier than it normally is, I'm not sure, but I will say that we got extremely lucky with the weapon drops in that playthrough. We got some of the best weapons in the game. We had a full crew, which is always good. We had a good defense drone and the power to use it, which is always good. Like I said before the boss fight, the only thing I would have changed would be a little bit more scrap to get that final level of shield protection. But in the end, we didn't actually need it, and I was able to beat the game. I hope that was informative, or at the very least entertaining, and I will catch you guys some other time.